We're here at the Orange County Convention Center here in Orlando, Florida, home of the 2024 NBA G League Showcase. We are joined by one of the Boston Celtics' two-way players, Drew Peterson, and we just reminisced that about a year ago now is when Drew Peterson signed to a two-way with the organization, and you said it's been a crazy year.
Yeah, for sure. To put it in a certain way, it's been crazy. It's been a blur, a rush, but I'm enjoying every second of it, and looking to keep progressing. And but it's been really successful. I'm really happy with how the last year's gone.
One day, maybe during your playing career, after it, you can document or chronicle through a book or something, and maybe it would be a good lesson, I think, for younger players. You were in college for 5 years total, right? But like the glam that comes off as a pro player, and that's not to say you haven't had a great time. It's more so just like mapping out the travel you were doing this time last year and just navigating through all of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
I think a big thing is still haven't had really a time to kind of internalize everything, just because you go from winning the championship right to summer league and then right to preseason. So I'm excited to, obviously it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
But just keep pushing. Keep, like I said, chipping away, progressing. So one day we'll sit back and look back on it. But right now we're in the mix.
Well, not to mention that the Maine Celtics were in the finals last year.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So like that added another 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks to your G League season. And then, of course, Boston shortly after started the playoffs and then made their run to the championship. When you're playing into June, the offseason does shorten. But we're happy to have Drew here with the Maine Celtics and, of course, with the Boston Celtics. So 1 full year as a two-way contract player. So you were at this event last year, the G League Showcase. What do you make of this after having experienced it for 1 year?
It's great. It's obviously well put together. Big convention center. I love seeing all the guys I've played with before, all my friends, and all that kind of stuff. So it's cool getting to see all the teams. You get to go to other games and stuff like that too, and just a really efficient way to get that showcase done. And so it's a really cool event.
What do you see? Maybe not for because you're a two-way, but what about some of the other guys? Do you tell the guys like what this might mean for them possibly?
Yeah, for sure. I think everyone you emphasize that you got a lot of scouts here and a lot of eyes on you, and a big thing is just competing and even though we're not in the tournament per se, you still got a lot of attention, and it's a time for the guys to really showcase what they can do.
So and that's the thing, right? Like it's still at the end of it's basketball, right? You're still playing a couple games, and you still want to, but there's an audience, there's a bigger audience, and maybe at the expo, there's plenty of folks that come to the home games. But when you play in a big event like this, I thought Anton Watson put it well. It's almost like the pandemic year, but then again, you're going to have some fans here on Saturday. You guys are playing Friday and Sunday. Just mentioned the finals run last year by the Celtics. So Nemi and Jordan Walsh have been up with Boston. You've had JD here. You've been up with Boston, which we'll get to that. But where is your comfort level at as far as being in that stay-ready group, and then how you're kind of managing going back and forth Boston, Maine, as far as – because you're managing not just, your minutes, but you're also playing with a bunch of different guys, personality-wise, trying to fit the right thing and how everyone operates.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a little bit more back and forth this year than last year. Obviously, just depending on what happens with Boston any given night, with who's in, who's out, and it's definitely a lot of travel, a lot of you try to get a lot of continuity within both teams, but at the end of the day, like you said, you're playing with different personnel on different nights, and I play a different role on these two different teams. Obviously, when I'm with Boston, I try to be more of a role guy, kind of a glue guy that could help fill in any of the holes I need when guys are hurt. So, and then when I'm down here, I try to be a little more aggressive and helping the team win, with scoring and distributing and stuff like that. So, it's definitely something to manage, but I've been adjusting to it and just kind of taking it day by day with that stuff.
So just after Thanksgiving, Boston had a really busy stretch. They played 6 games in 9 nights, and we've talked about this to you a few times. I haven't told you this. Like I grew up in Boston. I grew up a Celtics fan. So my friends, and they're like, who is Drew Peterson? Like you can understand. Like when you're in Maine so much, you're getting minutes against 2 really good opponents in a busy stretch. Cleveland, which is number 1 in the East, and Miami, your former spot. Like, what was that like as far as that whirlwind? Because you made the joke after the game that when Joe Mazzulla was looking down the aisle of the bench, you thought he was talking to Drew Holiday, but he was talking about you. How do you put that all into words now after like kind of letting that process a bit?
Yeah, it's obviously, it was a crazy, couple games and experience for me, just kind of getting thrown into the fire like that. But I learned a ton. I think it was, great to, not to even go into it not being prepared, in terms of knowing if you're going to play. So, you're not, nervous or anything of your first big time going out there. And it was great, getting to play around the guys and kind of really getting to experience what, meaningful minutes and, those big Boston games mean rather than just, kind of end of the game, last few minutes when the game's, kind of put away. But it was incredible. It's, taught me a lot and, hoping to, keep progressing with that.
When you go back and watch the film of that, do you notice like, oh, like this fits? Meaning like when you were in Maine and you're practicing the similar concepts on both ends, when you look at it from now playing with the NBA club, do you see the parallels?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of continuity within the two organizations, but you can really see how the objectives that you take from Maine and go into Boston with it, and working around the guys and guys like JT and JB make our lives a lot easier, especially. But the biggest thing being, the roles are obviously a little different. You got to kind of manage like how you impact the game in different ways with the different teams. So,
yeah. How hard is that in Boston? You're not getting as many touches, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like I said, JT and JB and Pritchard and all those guys. They make our lives really easy.
How so? If you give an example.
Yeah, just being the per se fifth guy out there.
Yeah.
You can really focus and harp on a few main roles that you do, like rebounding, defense, and then shooting spot threes. So it's it's I'm not necessarily saying one's easier or harder, but it's just different ways to play, and you can really focus on your main objectives when when the guys like that make your life. They obviously handle all the ball pressure and all that stuff and scoring, and so it's you can definitely focus on a few set objectives.
Got it. Right, and I think Hauser's a good example of this. Like, that keeps you on the floor.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, that will get you to a point where you're in the rotation consistently and playing, 25, 30 minutes, whatever it may be any given night. We've got Drew Peterson with us here at the Orlando Convention Center, NBA G League Showcase. So you've talked about your mindset as far as what you want to continue to do in Maine, and then when called upon to go to Boston. What are some other things that you're personally kind of driving at from an individual game standpoint?
Yeah, like I said, I think just trying to do everything that Joe preaches, Tyler preaches down here. My main thing is really tuning in on how I can contribute to my role and what that would look like, in Boston, and then re-emphasizing that here. Starting with defense, rebounding, and obviously spot shooting. So. The big thing is just, being prepared for any situation. I could have on any given night, I'll find out the night of a Maine game, hey, you got to go to Boston tomorrow, and, vice versa. So just kind of being ready to go. I think, we preach stay ready, and that's the biggest thing for me.
Do you have like a special suitcase for that kind of situation? Like a travel bag?
Yeah. I mean, what I'll do on road trips, on any given trip is I'll pack, a few extra pairs of clothes just in case, like, a trip gets extended or, like, I got to go to Boston or – just in case now, I've learned you got to be prepared for, anything on the road. So it's a lot of work, but, like I said, a good problem to have.
But you didn't know that at first. Like that's just trial and error. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I end up.
I'm not picking on you, but I just think it's fascinating to understand what, like, that's the life in terms of making it work.
Yeah, first couple trips, it's short, re-wearing shirts and pants and stuff like that. And so I'm learning as I go, but I've got a pretty good, preparation for it now.
Do you look back on it now too? Like Miami and Boston are two really well-respected organizations. Like you didn't get drafted, but like landing spot wise, like two really in Sioux Falls, Maine, they've done a really good job with their programs and how they, like we talked about a second ago, just having the continuity between both organizations. Yeah,
for sure. I think that's helped me a ton in my career. Obviously, starting with those two and how good their developmental track's been. It's brought me a lot of success, and I'm very fortunate to land in those two spots. And obviously, hoping for continued success here. But it's been as good of a, like you said, developmental track as it could be. So. Okay, Drew Peterson. He's now it's his 1-year anniversary, basically, of being a Boston Celtic, but an NBA champion as well. Congratulations on your success to this point, and have a great weekend here in Orlando. Appreciate it. All right.